50 plus new changes and features in iOS 18.4. There's a lot here. In this latest episode of iOS Decoded, I show you everything new and break down what it all means. If you appreciate videos like this, thumbs up and subscribe for more. So to start, let's talk about build number. This is 18.4 with build number 22E5200S for those keeping score at home. And when you set up iOS 18.4 for the first time, there's a new age attestation feature that you'll find as you go through the setup. So once we get past data and privacy, you're going to see this little screen here, age range. So select the age range of the person who will be using this device. And if you choose a child, it's going to want you to connect to a family account. If you choose a teen or an adult, it's going to ask you for Face ID verification. Now, is Apple going to verify via Face ID whether you're actually a child or an adult? Doubt it, but that would be interesting. Speaking of interesting, if you're running macOS 15.4, you'll be able to take advantage of the new proximity-based setup via your iPhone or iPad that is nearby. So once you go to continue here, you're going to see set up this Mac with your iPhone. So you can use an iPhone or an iPad to automatically sign in with your Apple account, connect to Wi-Fi, and turn on accessibility features. So all that will be done for you if you're running 18.4 on your iOS device and of course macOS 15.4 on your Mac. So it's looking for nearby devices, and here's the pop-up. Very familiar pop-up. You get this when setting up a new iPhone, for instance, but here you get it when you're setting up your Mac, and it recognizes it. You want to just go ahead and tap where it says continue, and then verify with Face ID. And now, just like you would when setting up a new iPhone, you just hold up the camera so it can capture the pattern that's displayed to verify. And now, it's setting up your Mac with your Apple ID logged in, with Wi-Fi connected, etc. So that's pretty cool, and it's even going to put in your name for you automatically. What do you guys think about proximity-based setup for Mac? Now here's something really interesting. So you have SystemExtensions, not for macOS like you would normally think, right? But for iOS and iPadOS. So of course with macOS, we're used to SystemExtensions. These extend the capabilities of macOS via drivers and other low-level code. But you don't really associate that with iOS and macOS until now, apparently. So what does this mean for iOS? It's hard to say right now, but perhaps even better or more in-depth connectivity to external displays for one. You could probably come up with a lot of different ideas as to how Apple can wield such a feature in the future. And iOS 18.4 gives you connection security details in Safari. So if we go into our Safari page preferences here and go to the page menu, you can see connection security details. So if you tap on that, you get security details about the current connection for that page. So there you go. So your connection in 9 to 5 Mac is secure. It gives you details about the TLS cert, etc. Now this one is kind of a big deal, ambient music. So those are the little icons for the new ambient music feature in 18.4. To find this, you want to go into Control Center, add a new control, and then you're going to see the ambient music toggles. There are 4 of them in all, and there's 4 different types of ambient music associated with each. So you have well-being, productivity, chill, and sleep. So we're going to add each of these to our Control Center. Let's start by adding the well-being toggle, and it just appears there. We'll go ahead and add the rest. So all 4 of them. One more, there we go. All right, so there are all the ambient music toggles. You can see them up close right here, just in case. And now all you do is just simply press 1, and that will start playing back that type of ambient music associated with that toggle. You can just tap another one to start playback of another type. So if you want to view what's actually playing back, you can of course look at it in Control Center in the little music window there in the upper right hand corner, or you can just tap on it. It's going to expand that, or tap on it again to expand it in the full screen view that looks similar to the music app, but this isn't actually the music app. You can't actually tap on any of these details, for instance, and view the playlist or view the artist information, etc. You can skip ahead and go backwards and pause and of course output to an AirPlay destination, but that's pretty much the full gist of it right there. And you can see this is basically its own little standalone application called Ambient Music. So this is not the music app, but it's obviously based around the music app, but it's its own little solo thing, as you can see there. So it's interesting, right? Like if you want ambient music, this is a great way to have it directly from Control Center. But there are other ways you can access this as well. We're going to talk about that here in just a second. But again, sadly, I can't play it back because I don't know what the copyright details of those particular songs are. But again, you can play these back if you're running the 18.4 beta and hear them for yourself. All right. Now you also get ambient music on the lock screen as well. So of course you can add toggles from Control Center directly to your lock screen. You could do the same with ambient music. So here we go. I just added one there. Just tap, or actually you need to press in this case. And there you go. So ambient music playback. And you also get ambient music playback using the action button. So I already assigned it. And I just press the action button and you can see it plays back. Oh, you might be wondering, how are you playing Radiohead there? That's not a part of ambient music, is it? Well, if you go into the action button settings, you can actually go in here, choose which ambient music type you want. But there's even more. You can customize ambient music. So you can choose between multiple playlists for each ambient music type. So Apple has already sort of given several different playlist options there if you want to do so. And you can switch between any of those right there from the settings. You can also do this directly from Control Center when in edit mode in Control Center. But not just that, you can also go in and customize and add your own library to a particular playlist. So if you don't like what Apple's provided, you can pick your own from your own playlist library if you wish to do so. And you can assign it to that particular type. And this type will only apply to this particular toggle. So if you have something else configured in another toggle in Control Center, it's going to be different than the toggle right here. So that's really cool. Apple really put a lot of thought and effort into this ambient music feature. I think it's going to be pretty popular, especially because you can customize it and use it in multiple places. But customizing it with your own playlist, as I've done here, is actually pretty cool. One touch button press with the action button and my music's playing just like that. Now, you also get robot vacuum support in iOS 18.4, and you're probably thinking to yourself, finally, right? There aren't a lot of Matter-enabled robot vacuum-enabled devices just yet, but there is one, the SwitchBot S10 robot vacuum, that is going to have Matter. And as we reported, Jonathan from Smart Home Center went ahead and was able to test this out. He was able to add this S10 robot to the Home app and control the robot vacuum directly from his iPhone. And that is really cool. That's something I have been wanting for a very long time. Interested to hear what you guys have to say about that. Let me know down below. And in iOS 18.4, there is a new telephony framework which references cross-platform cellular plan migration. It also has references to Android and Google domains. So are you thinking what I'm thinking? Does this mean we'll finally be able to migrate eSIMs between iPhone and Android? One could hope. And speaking of eSIM, if you have a dual line setup, as I have here, you've probably already noticed this before, but in the phone app, you have this little P in the upper left-hand corner to switch between the different lines that you have configured. But I guess this wasn't very clear before because Apple's added a new double-sided arrow to make it clear that there's more options to choose. So we've had image playgrounds for a while now, but up until now, we've only had two different style types. We had the animation style type, which is personally my favorite, and then we also have the illustration style type. So this right here is the animation style type. Looks like sort of a Pixar-like sort of thing. But here you see choose style, you have illustration as well, and that's more of a hand-drawn sort of thing. I don't particularly like this style. But now in 18.4, as you can see, you have the third style, the sketch option. So I'm curious to hear what you think about the sketch style. I think I like it better than the illustration style, but definitely not as good as animation. And 18.4 brings the updated Mail app to the Mac and the iPad. Finally, right? Like we've had this for a while on the iPhone. Now you get the different mail categories right here on your iPad as well. So now it doesn't feel like such a departure from what you've been using on your iOS device if you've been using the updated version of the Mail app there. And again, this is also available on the Mac. Now, speaking of mail and messages for that matter, Apple is allowing third-party developers to add Smart Reply, which is based on Apple Intelligence. You know, the smart replies that you get in mail and in messages. Well, now that can be used on third-party apps as well. So again, this uses Apple Intelligence to generate messages that are contextually correct for whatever you're working on, whatever message thread you have going on there. And hopefully this will be something that we see largely adopted in third-party mail and messages applications. Apple actually sent out a press release about its Apple News Plus food section, which is found in the News app. If you're a News Plus subscriber, you have access to this. So what it does is it gives you recipes, it gives you articles, videos, all about food. And these recipes, you can actually save them to your News app. You can follow the recipes. They have all the ingredients listed there as well. Tells you how much time it'll take. Here's a video, and there's articles related to these recipes as well that you can view. What's really cool though is the little recipe cards that you get. So if you tap that, you can see that full step-by-step direction. And of course, like I said, you can save that recipe just by tapping save for later. You can also tap the cook button. And this is where it really gets interesting, right? Because not only do you have your ingredients, but you have each step in really super large text. And the step that isn't being used is faded out to the background with the bold text for the current step. What's also really cool is that you also get timers that are built into the steps themselves. So if I scroll down here, you see those timers. If I tap one of those, I can actually set a timer right there on my iPad. Now, think to yourself for a minute. This is really cool on an iPhone, right? To have these recipes. It's even better on an iPad to get this large screen. You can scroll through. Wouldn't it be even better to have like a new category, a new device category that you can place in your kitchen that is like a HomePod and an iPad in one? Sound familiar? That's where I think this is going. Now, no doubt, Apple is excited about having this new food section in their News app, right? That's important. They issued a press release. It was that important to them. But there's more here than meets the eye. This will no doubt be a central part of that new HomePad product category that Apple will be releasing soon. And there's more evidence that points to that. But just looking at the food section of the News app itself, it's clear that Apple didn't put all this effort into some obscure News Plus subscription, and it's never going to be used elsewhere. I imagine this will be something that's going to be a key part of the new HomePad and the use case scenario behind such a product. And the evidence of this that I talked about is found elsewhere within iOS 18.4, for instance, with CookingKit and cooking intents. These details show that this goes way beyond the scope of a simple News Plus subscription. There's a lot of smoke here. But as if that wasn't enough, we found a new home device class, which was just added to iOS 18.4. So again, more smoke for the HomePad. But what do you think? Do you have any interest in a HomePad-like device? Let me know. We also found some new private SF symbols. One of them, interestingly, is a shield. And this is interesting because new strings in the CompanionServices framework presents a shield during an authentication session, presumably for the new home accessory. And one other thing, we found a new placeholder in tvOS for a new home app. So again, just reiterating how much attention that Apple is giving the home space. And Apple Vision Pro users will be happy to know that there is a new iPhone app for Apple Vision Pro that allows you to queue up games and apps to download, discover new spatial content, find helpful tips, and quickly access information. But even better is the fact that users can now start a guest user session from a nearby iPhone or iPad running 18.4 with the Vision OS running 2.4. So that is a definite welcome addition. We've also found references to DAB, which stands for Digital Audio Broadcasting. Now, I found this really interesting because as someone who lives in the US, we're not really familiar with this, but apparently DAB is something that's pretty prevalent in Europe and other places. And basically this is, from what I gather, sort of like an internet radio, but you need a special tuner to be able to receive DAB signals. So does this mean upcoming hardware, perhaps that new home accessory or HomePad, or maybe even upcoming iPhones will have a built-in DAB receiver? Interesting to think about. We also found something called Shazam Exclusives, so maybe exclusive music? What do you think? There's also a new Photos Albums list editor. So if you go into Photos Albums, you'll find new filters, but you also find the ability to switch over to a key photo viewer. And that allows you to switch between the list and key photos. There are also new photo filters. So if you open up Photos and tap the button in the bottom left-hand corner, tap Filter, you're going to see two new filters, one for Share With You, one for Not in an Album. I particularly find Share With You a extremely useful filter because that allows you to quickly find all the photos that people send to you. There's also new animation skip forward and go backward buttons. So you can see the little circle there, counterclockwise circle and clockwise circle And there's also the highly anticipated prioritize notifications feature, which is under settings notifications. So if we head over there, you're going to see under Apple Intelligence, you'll see the summarized notifications, which we've already covered before, but prioritize notifications is new for 18.4. And what this will do is it will show you notifications that may be important in a separate section on the top of the lock screen notifications, so you can catch up on what you may have missed. And you still can swipe up to view all your other notifications below that, but as you can see there, it will surface anything that it believes is a priority to you. So in this case, a health notification is deemed a priority, and that will appear at the top. And you see the new little animation when you swipe, and there's an options button that allows you to say whether or not the priority looks good or something isn't right. So if it's functioning like you think it should, or if it's not functioning like you expect, you can provide feedback. Now you'll notice the little glowing animation that surrounds the priority notifications. So you can really quickly see what is set to priority there and act on it. And again, all your other notifications appear below that. So there's also a new Genmoji icon. You'll find that whenever you open up the emoji picker, in the upper right-hand corner, you'll see Genmoji. So previously it was just a little smiley face, but now it actually spells it out what it is. And there's a new type to Siri animation that you'll find. So when we use type to Siri and submit that, you'll see the little animation there. So just tap, send, and you see that new animation just like that. And you'll find new arrows on the focus toggle in Control Center. So you see the little arrows there, they just make it more obvious that you can tap it to expand that section. And in Control Center, the cellular data toggle now shows signal strength like a live representation of your current signal strength. So you can see there I only have 2 bars with this current cellular connection. But as a dual SIM user, I'm going to go ahead and switch over to my other business line. So just tap that and you're going to see that the cellular bars are updated accordingly. And the volume slider in Control Center now will turn blue when it's turned up and white when it's turned down. So you can see the white, and then you turn it up, it turns blue. A similar thing happens to the brightness slider. So it's yellow, you turn it down. It's kind of hard to tell though, but you'll see it turns white and then yellow, just like that. It's kind of hard to discern on video, but trust me, that's how it works. And there's also the ability to set the default translate app, along with the ability to set the default navigation app if you're in the EU. But I'm not in the EU, so I just have the ability to set the default translate app. So you can see translation. By default, it's set to Apple Translate, of course, but eventually you'll be able to add others as default. And if you have double tap enabled on your iPhone, so if you go to settings, accessibility, under touch, you'll see where it has back tap. If you have double tap or triple tap for that matter enabled, you're going to get a notification that appears at the top of your iPhone to let you know that that has been enacted. So it was kind of obscured there by the flashlight, but I do it again to turn it off, and you'll see that double tap notification there. And there's a new secure indicator light animation. So you see that secure indicator light as it moves over when there's another live activity running. It'll show you the current status of that secure indicator light there. So in this case, it represents the fact that there's a phone call currently in progress. And you can see that that microphone for the phone is active. So it stays inside the dynamic island when there's no live activity, but when there is, it goes on the outside. And another point, this little indicator, if you look closely, it actually gets brighter than the surrounding area, again, trying to simulate an actual LED. And there's now a dedicated apps page for camera control. So if you go to settings, you go to camera control. Previously, all your launch camera apps were listed here on the same page, but now it has its own dedicated section. So you just tap that and then you can choose your camera app of choice. And there's a new shortcut zoom transition. So when you open up a new shortcut, you'll see the zoom transition. It used to be just a page transition, and you'll find a new action within shortcuts to open up an individual messages app conversation. So that's pretty cool. And last but not least, according to Code Sleuth Aaron Paris, Apple is preparing Google Gemini integration with Apple Intelligence. And this is currently present on the back end, but perhaps in a future beta release, we'll see Google Gemini support added as an additional option alongside ChatGPT. So ladies and gents, that has been a look at iOS 18.4, new changes and features. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments section. And if you like this video, then you'll probably like these videos as well. This is Jeff with 9to5Mac.